Okay, welcome back, word students. It has been a very long time since I've recorded one of these lectures. I'm hoping it hasn't been as long for you between watching chapter or lesson 11 and lesson 12. But I'm excited to get into it. We're still doing Greek, which is great. And this chapter really runs the gamut. It goes from numbers to Greek tragedy. So we've got a lot of great words to talk about today. And so let's get into it. So yeah, when I saw that this lesson first started on numbers, I wasn't super excited about this, but I think maybe it's interesting. I think that most of these you're going to be really familiar with, and it'll kind of just be like, oh, of course, like that's where we get it. Many of these numbers are kind of overlapping with Latin numbers. So yeah, so we'll see how it goes. And the other thing that I found very annoying, but I think you will all really appreciate when you come take Intro to Greek with me next year, is that they give you these Greek numbers, but they only give you many Greek numbers have different genders. So like one woman would be described with a different number than a different Greek word than one man. It would be a different word for one, but it's just given us the neuter form, which is fine. I guess that's the one you would use most frequently. But just as an FYI, the first word we're learning here today is hen for one. The feminine form of the word hen is Mia. So the name Mia, I mean, who knows why people use it, but technically that's the Greek word for one. But here we are learning hen, the neuter form. So this gives us our stem hen, and that means one. And one really interesting use of this particular stem hen is henotheism, which is just like monotheism. So, monotheism is the belief in one God. Henotheism also should just mean the belief in one God. But henotheism is specifically the belief that one God is superior to the other gods, but there are other gods. So there's a couple moments actually in the Old Testament in which it seems like God of the Old Testament actually is like preeminent over some other gods. It's a highly contested interpretation. So that'd be henotheism as opposed to kind of later Old Testament and New Testament God, which is the one God. So that could be interesting. But mainly we're going to see hen in combination with other numbers in just a few minutes, so I won't spoil it for you. And then, believe it or not, the number two in Greek is duo. This gives us our stem die, D-Y. It's really important. So we're going to see dyad in just a minute. That's the word that kind of comes to mind. Duplex is kind of related to this. That's a similar idea. Important to keep in mind that dy meaning two is going to be different from dys meaning bad. We're going to see the word dyslexia in this unit, or maybe the next unit. But so dyslexia is bad, kind of bad reading or bad word. That's going to be different than die, which we would put die in front of lexia, you'd have two words. So just a fun distinction or similarity. And then the number for three in Greek is trace. This is again very familiar to us. And so this will give us our stem tri, which is of course everywhere. For some reason, the only word I can think of is tricycle, three wheels. But there's a bunch. Tripod. We're going to talk about that. So anyhow, that's where it comes from. So here's where we get into kind of maybe slightly less frequently used suffixes, numbers. So tetaras is the Greek word for four. This is where we get the stem tet. So here is a fun fact about Tetris, the game Tetris, which was one of the only video games I've ever played in my life because I grew up in the 90s. We didn't have as much access. It was mainly for boys. I'm very excited. It's a much bigger deal now. But anyhow, so Tetris, I played this a bunch. And there's a movie about it recently that I now feel I should watch. But the reason it's called Tetris is because all of those little blocks in Tetris, no matter what shape they are of made up of four little blocks. So that's the tetra. And then apparently the creator of Tetris also really liked tennis. So it was like tennis four. So there you go. Tetra. Then we have pente, pentagram. This is five. The stem is pentagon, five-sided. And then there's hex. So hex is a number for six. It's pronounced hex. This is completely different from the word hex, like to curse, like a witch could hex you. Has nothing to do with the number six. That's a Germanic word, but hexagon. That's where you see that. So that's number six. I feel like all of these, you just put the word gone after it, and you're like, that's how we use it. Hexagon, pentagon. Hepta means seven. So hept is is the stem. Heptagon, seven-sided, is a seven-sided thing. I feel like we see this in other places, heptagram. Um, but yeah, so that's what it is. And then octo means eight. Octagon comes from this, an eight-sided figure. But octopus, of course. An octopus has eight legs, 8 feet, so there's octopus. And then Enia is the number for nine. So this gives us Enna. Some of you, if you're at all like yoga adjacent or kind of, mildly new agey, the Enneagram was this like nine symbol system. It's kind of like the zodiac, but different. So that's what I think of when I think of Enneagram of Enia. So that means nine. So now we are at 10, which is deca, and we're going to talk about the difference when you would use a Greek suffix or prefix, a Greek numerical prefix, rather than a Roman Latin numerical prefix. But here we have deca. This is our word for 10. It can start with either DEC or DEK. And so here's where we're going to see that hen again. So hen deca is just 1 plus 10, and that's where we get 11. And then we have, for 12, we have dodeca, which is 2 plus 10. So the dodecahedron was, Plato considered it, it's this 12-sided little figure. For some reason, Plato, the philosopher Plato, thought this was the most perfect shape. And so, I mean, we should all know it for that reason. And then I think we just have a couple more. Yeah. So the number 100. So just 100, not 101 would be hecaton at hen. So 100 is hecaton, and it gives us our stem, hect. And we're going to see that. We're going to see it come up pretty soon. The one word that I know that I'm not sure, I mean, it's kind of out there, but there's a group of warriors called the Hecaton, not warriors, I'm sorry, it's a mythological figure called the Hecaton Kyres. And this is a figure that was a monster, essentially, kind of living before the time of Zeus, along with the Titans prior to the Olympians. And so the Hecaton Kyres are called the Hundred Handers, and they're basically just these brutes with 100 hands. And they eventually get conquered by the Olympians. So you just see it in a bunch of anything with 100 in the compound. And then so helioi, this is the word meaning 1,000. Now this is not a word that was frequently used by ancient or classical Greek authors, but it's really important for us to learn because this is where we get the word kilo. Kilo is coming from the Greek helioi, meaning 1,000. What? Oh yeah, okay. So that's like the individual numbers. And then, just like as an added twist, the book gives us groups of numbers. I guess it's kind of groups of specific numerical quantity. And so the book introduces these to us as stems, but I think most of these we just use as nouns by themselves. So a dyad is a group of two. A triad is a group of three. A tetrad is a group of four. Technically, you could throw that in front of something, but for the most part, they kind of stand alone. So those are fine. The book includes many of these, and even I was exhausted by the end. So you can see the possible possibilities here, but I ended up skipping a few because I figured you get the point. You can look at the book. It's not, to me, the most useful thing to be spending time on. But the one I do really want to emphasize is the word myriad. So myriad is a group of 10,000 or larger. And so this word was invented by a very small society like ancient Greece. It would be shocking to me if many people ever saw a city of 10,000 people. So for the Greeks, myriad, 10,000 or more, it was just kind of like the way we say billion almost. It was just like this impossibly large number. It's almost like a hyperbole. We use the word myriad all the time now. When I was growing up, it was very controversial because myriad technically is an adjective. So if you wanted to say, I have myriad shoes. You would, so what people tend to say and now say all the time is I have a myriad of shoes. They treat it like a noun. So in the 80s and 90s, again, when we had nothing better to do, people get really shirty about it and they'd say, no, it's an adjective. You can't use it as a noun. You have to say myriad shoes. But my understanding, because I keep my finger on the pulse of language change, is that now it's perfectly okay to use myriad as a noun. It's accepted as both a noun and an adjective. So you do what feels right. Um, yeah, yeah. But so anyhow, it means a ton, like technically 10,000 or more. But we usually use it the same way the Greeks did to mean countless, myriad. Yeah, I have foster kittens right now, so I feel like I have myriad cats in my house, but I don't. I don't have that many. Okay, so wow, there it is, the end of lecture one. I know it was fascinating and probably changed your life, but don't let that stop you from coming back for lecture two, where we get to actually look at words that have nothing to do with numbers. Forgot how to turn this off. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna do this. Ah.